What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at this week's edition of Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including Paige teasing a return, Triple H stole Jon Moxley's idea after rolling his eyes at it, Wrestlemania 37 matches may have been leaked, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. As always, we won't recap the whole show, but just provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Otis's heel turn. Now, Otis's heel turn was fantastic and a pleasant surprise for Otis fans who have been wondering why the WWE hasn't been using him much of late. While Otis's storyline with Chad Gable taking him under his wing didn't seem to be going anywhere, they pulled the trigger on a much needed and unexpected heel turn. Even better, Otis's heel turn makes complete sense. Well, far too often fans have seen WWE turn wrestlers with no reason other than the company needs a new heel opponent. But in Otis's case, he has every reason for being angry in light of last year's complete show. Otis lost his best friend, he lost his Money in the Bank briefcase, and he lost his girlfriend. Wouldn't you be mad after this trifecta of tragedy? Rather than going the easy way out and Gable grow frustrated with Otis's lack of progress, he turned heel, giving in to Gable's instructions. This angle has the potential to be one of SmackDown's best undercard programs in recent memory. Number 2, Apollo's heel turn. Now, speaking of heel turns, Apollo Crews' heel turn, while not unexpected, was booked well as the WWE had him gradually go from resenting Big E to outright hating him. Like any good storyline, heel turns should be handled on a case-by-case purpose. Yeah, fans had no doubt Crews was turning heel, but they built it up over time, with Big E repeatedly trying to defuse the situation and patch up any differences Crews had with him. Big E is even more of a sympathetic babyface thanks to his diplomacy, while Crews looks like even more of a jerk. The fans will have every reason to want to see Big E get revenge on Crews once they book a match, and Crews may even emerge as a bigger wrestler in the process. Number 3, Big E's energy is everything. It's hard to imagine a wrestler getting over by eating a microwave dinner and getting a foot spa treatment, and yeah, Big E did so on Smackdown, showcasing the tremendous charisma he possesses, charisma the WWE needs to tap into even more. While Big E continues to show impressive ring skills, it's his incredible charisma that makes him stand out as a potential main event player. Big E has been criticized for not being serious enough, but that's a ridiculous argument as he's been funny even without looking like a goof. They need to continue taking advantage of Big E's charisma, and while it's difficult to do without live fans present, it's a key component in his success that can't be underplayed. Number 4, Seth Rollins' descent into madness. Fans who think Seth Rollins was a raving madman before learned that they've only begun to see the extent of his insanity. Rollins' return to SmackDown last week saw him try to pull in new followers from the Blue Brands roster, but as expected, no one was interested in Rollins' rants. This week, it's clear as ever that Rollins hasn't changed in wanting to assemble a group of mindless followers to guide, and no one is safe when they defy him. Rollins' attack on Cesaro last week seems to only be the beginning of Rollins' obsession with controlling everyone around him, and it also has the making for an epic feud between Seth and the Swiss Superman. And number 5, press L1 for finishes. Last night's SmackDown had a fantastic finish that gets fans psyched about an upcoming pay-per-view, in this case the various members of Sunday's number 1 contenders match in the Chamber hitting their finishes on one another and showing fans what to expect. Throwing Edge and Roman Reigns into the fray was a good way to continue the build for their Wrestlemania 37 match too, a reminder that SmackDown is beginning to do things right on a continuous basis. But that was the good. What about the bad? Is number 1, Natalya and Tamina, basic and bland. Natalya and Tamina are the WWE's latest random tag team pairing, and the company should just call them basic and bland as the team lacks vitality and was clearly put together to fill up time rather than to properly utilize both women. Natalya is a fantastic performer who the WWE can always rely on for putting on good matches, whether she plays a face or a heel. Now, Tamina isn't in the same class as Natalya, but a team with Natty is a way for her to grow in the ring and carve out an identity besides that of Jimmy Snuka's daughter. Natalya and Tamina represent everything that is wrong with WWE's approach to booking its women's tag team, with WWE pairing 2 random wrestlers with no build-up. Natalya has repeatedly shown she'll work with any material she's given, and Tamina has shown potential. Nonetheless, the tag team can only do so much if WWE Creative doesn't give them a storyline to work with. And number 2, Corbin confusion. Did Baron Corbin come out too early? It certainly looked that way on SmackDown when he went for his sneak attack last night. Now, we just praised the King last week, but even the best of them can make the occasional mistake. Nevertheless, it did take away a little bit from a good match and belongs in our bad section. Now, there was nothing downright ugly about this week's Smackdown, as it was a good build-up for Elimination Chamber as well as the road to Wrestlemania. They featured some new storylines with Otis and Apollo Crews' heel turns, built things up further with Edge vs Roman, and got fans ready for the #1 contenders match this Sunday. Everything you need for a go-home pay-per-view show. But what did you guys think of Smackdown this week? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Now, our first story looks at Paige teasing a return to the ring. Now, while this is a story that fans have heard before, it's worth mentioning that former Divas champion Paige insists that she wants to return to the ring. Recently, Paige responded to a tweet by WWE on Fox showing Edge and Daniel Bryan with the word retirement, alluding to how both men returned from what seemed like permanent retirement due to in-ring injuries. Paige tweeted, "One day." Now, Paige has talked about returning to the ring, and fans will recall rumors over last year of Paige being ready for a comeback. Whether or not this happens remains to be seen, but Paige seems to have the desire to do it if her body is up to the task. Next up, a match added to Elimination Chamber. Our fans looking for the tag team action that only Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler can bring to the ring will be happy to know that the women's tag team titles are being defended this Sunday against women's champions Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. While it's not a match that anyone in particular was asking for, you can be certain WWE will use it to build up what looks to be Belair vs Banks' showdown at this year's Mania. Next up, Triple H stole Jon Moxley's idea. Jon Moxley's dissatisfaction with the WWE's creative department is well known, and recently Moxley shared another example of why he left the WWE due to its creative bankruptcy. Speaking with Dave Meltzer, Mox recalled pitching an idea about his Hell in a Cell match against Seth Rollins. Something cool like tearing the canvas off and exposing the board, something like that. I pitched that for a Hell in a Cell match, and there was like Hunter and Vince and Seth, and I'm really into it, you know? I'm explaining to him like, yeah, I'm gonna take a box cutter and I'm gonna rip that canvas off and expose the wood. And they look at me like I'm fucking stupid, like they didn't get it at all. Triple H's reaction seems to have summed up his thoughts on Moxley's idea for the 2014 bout. And Vince is like, I don't think people are gonna understand it. They look at me like I was an idiot. They're like, Hunter's rolling his eyes, Vince is confused. But then Meltzer noted that they actually used a similar spot during a Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano match a few years later. Moxley retorted saying, Hunter liked thumbtacks when it was Cactus making him look good and putting him over. He loved thumbtacks back then. Whatever, dude. And finally, Mania matches being leaked. A WrestleMania 37 will be here before you know it, and there's word the WWE is finally starting to put the card together. WrestleVotes recently tweeted some details about the 2021 showcase of the Immortals, noting a conversation with a source recently stated the latest WrestleMania creative meeting had Edge vs Reigns, Belair vs Banks, Orton vs Wyatt, Bad Bunny tag on the books with nearly everything else open, including the WWE title match. Same source stressed nothing is set in stone, however. And while there has been speculation about all 4 matches, it's encouraging that the WWE is actually spending some time planning ahead for its first show with live fans since 2020's Elimination Chamber. They would do well to put on a can't miss show, and while Roman vs Edge is huge, this year's show of shows should feature a strong undercard as well. But there you have it, folks. The good, the bad, and the downright ugly of Smackdown this week, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.